This is Lobo. This is Jason Momoa. Now look at them side by side. James Gunn confirmed that Jason Momoa has been officially cast as Lobo, who will appear for the first time in Supergirl. This is an unquestionably perfect casting. Jason Momoa is so on the money, you would think he was quite literally born to play this role. It is scarily uncanny. But while one of DC's most distinctive and outrageous characters and huge in the 90s, I would confidently argue that Lobo has never been a generally super popular IP with more of a cult following in the comic community, with the quality of the work that was done on him being more respected than the character itself in pop culture in that community. So what we're going to do today in this video, like I did in my Lex Luthor video a few days ago, is look at and read a few pages from two Lobo comic series I consider essential reading for the character, explain who he is as the irreverent anti-hero, go through understanding him and his abilities from his immortality to his indestructibility, and break down precisely what DC needs to make sure to get right in order to get Lobo right in Supergirl and also the DCU as a whole. The first comic series is the 1990 self-titled series Lobo, a darkly comedic, ultra-violent 4-issue series that simply defines the character. The comic opens up with Lobo already pissed off because some bastard has written a bogus, unauthorized biography about him, and he's offended. He wants to find whoever the author is and kill them, but his contract work gets in the way. Kidnapping? Assassination? Multiple maim and torture? No. Prisoner escort. And yes, he drives a space motorcycle. Hell yeah. This page also sheds a light on his personal mantra. No contract, no kill. Except in special circumstances, of course. So you immediately understand Lobo is a man with a code. This comic also provides lore into Lobo and his homeworld in the form of the biography and interviews, which is what we're mostly going to examine here in the beginning. Chapter 1 calls Lobo the Serpent in Eden. I'm going to paraphrase here because it is long. Not so long ago, there existed perfection. We called it Czarnia, Heartland, Harmony, Heaven, home to one of the noblest and most beautiful races ever to spring from the spangled loins of the Universal Mother. Czarnia, paradise of peace and love and quiet joy. There was no war, no hunger. Death came only to those who chose it as an alternative to everlasting life. There was no violence. There was not even a word for hatred. But into Eden a serpent was born, and the name of the evil was Lobo. It's said the midwife who delivered him felt a strange, unknown sensation at the moment of birth. "The devil!" she screamed, "the devil incarnate." No one knew what she was talking about, and that unnamed martyr fell the dubious honor of being Lobo's first victim. She became the planet's first mental patient in more than 10 millennia, and no one ever knew why she refused to regrow the 4 fingers the noxious child of darkness had chewed off. The best minds of Czarnia, the best minds in existence, spent years in analysis of the Lobo phenomenon. The theories were endless, which maintained he was the universe's way of balancing out Czarnia's overabundance of the good things in life. Kindergarten teacher Lubla Black had no time for fancy theories. Lobo was a bad little bastard, she is quoted as saying in an interview shortly before her untimely death in a never-solved napalm bombing. All his will, his energy, his ability was directed towards creating mayhem as often and as ubiquitously as he could manage, which was quite a lot. In fact, a whole lot. A whole heck of a lot. Never one to study if he could beat up a classmate or a teacher, Lobo ran his school. Even as a 5-year-old, he was unbelievably ferocious, a fact attested to by his first ever principal, whose throat the child ripped out in a temper tantrum. Scrawled on the floor in his own blood was the message, "My faith in the natural goodness of the scheme of things has been severely shaken, if not totally destroyed. I rejoin the Universal One. Farewell, paradise. For your own sake, create the concepts of police, punishment, and prison." An era was over. In the far galactic distance, a muffled drum began to beat, heralding the passing of perfection. We move on to Chapter 2, Overkill. What's 117 microns long, airborne, and burrows into flesh, causing great black blisters and severe blood poisoning before resulting in agonizing and messy death? The Czarnians didn't know either. As one of the side effects was near total paralysis, effective mere seconds after infection, they didn't get much opportunity to find out. What they did get was several billion people falling unaccountably sick at the same time, on a planet where ill health was unknown, bloated bodies, black buboes exuding an odor of rank decay, piled up in the streets. Fathers, mothers, children crawled around in blind desperation, voices uniting in a planet-wide scream of pain that took 5 long days before its heart-rending echoes faded into the chill, sick silence of death by abomination. And while a planet died, its killer smiled. Chapter 3, An Interview with Death. What exactly is it about other beings that you don't like? Can you tell me why it is that when others irritate you, anger you, or sometimes don't even do anything at all to you, you kill them? Can you tell me why it is that quacks like you always frippin' wrong? Let me make one thing plain. I don't kill nothing for nothing. The watchwords are, no contract, no kill. Dig? I'm the hitman, see? Assassin to royalty, executioner to the stars. My special skills commands big bucks, no pay, no play. Except if I do kill somebody and I don't get paid, then generally I'll kill the 4 flesh and creep what didn't pay me. That kind of thing I do gratis. Then it goes under the head in a community service. So how does what you told me relate to your friends? What's friends? Is that a trick question? Don't you ever find life lonely, lacking a sense of purpose? You crazy? My purpose in life is to kill and maim. Don't a man get credit for nothing? I've dedicated myself to being the best there is at it. Ain't nobody does it as good as me. If they think they do, let them face me man to man. I'll educate them damn fast. Can you explain how this macho image you project fits with the pack of space dolphins you're known to have taken under your wing? It's reputed that you're as gentle and loving with them as you are savage and ruthless with everyone else. Pause, real quick. Yes, he rides with a pack of space dolphins. I was just wondering how you reconcile the two disparate behaviors. I don't. My fishies are gentle and graceful and just about the purest form of life I've ever run across. They need somebody like me to look after them. You're known far and wide as the Czarnian who killed all the other Czarnians just so you could be unique. Yeah, well, I'm a remarkable guy. It worked, didn't it? But to any rational thinking being, such an act of genocide on such a colossal scale is just inconceivable. I mean, how could anyone do anything so grotesquely horrific, so primevally barbarous? You stupid or something? I can do it. That's why I'm unique, and they fraggin' well ain't. Despite your murderous reputation, you're also known as a man of his word, a man of honor. Yep, it's me all right. Don't say one thing and do another. You make a promise, you keep it. You sign a contract, you honor it. You swear revenge, revenge it. Whatever it takes, how long? Even if the voice of reason says otherwise. Voice of reason? And then Lobo kills the doctor by taking his head off. This comic even has a 10 things to know if you ever encounter Lobo list. Number 1, he can instantly analyze any opponent, giving him exact knowledge of their Achilles heel. Number 2, Lobo is a man of his word. If he makes you a promise, he will stop at nothing to keep it. Number 3, Lobo has perfected an amazing tracking ability. If he's met a victim once, no matter how fleeting, Lobo can trace him anywhere in the galaxy. Number 4, Lobo's favorite color is sepulchre black. Number 5, Lobo's bike is a customized Spazfrag 666. 0 to 60 is instantaneous and top speed is a cool several million kilometers per hour. Number 7, Lobo despises Legion 90 member Garen B and all other Legion members. He only sticks around because of a promise he made to Vril Dox. Number 8, Lobo's idea of the perfect night out is too bizarre and illegal to go into here. Number 9, Lobo's most used exclamation is Fetal's Giz, Fetal's Gizzard. Number 10, Lobo loathes Captain Comet and everything he stands for. Square jaws, goody goodies, democracy, flags, philosophy that ultimately good can overcome evil, short hair, brown shoes, equality for women, equality for men, basic rights, and most everything else decent. This panel here does reference some of the Czarnian abilities. Lobo's client lost her legs, but she says, they'll grow back, you know. I may have lost my ability to replicate with advancing age, but I can still self-heal. Czarnians have a number of abilities, one of them being an advanced regenerative healing factor, enabling them to recover from virtually any injury in short time. This includes regrowing limbs or organs. It's important to remember regular Czarnians did not have the same level of abilities of Lobo's vastly more extreme pinnacle of Czarnian abilities. And Lobo also has unique traits only to him that are covered in these two comics. We're not really going to discuss the plot of this comic as much as just finding and picking apart characterization and lore, but essentially the premise of this comic here is Lobo is hired to escort, protect, and deliver a prisoner who he finds out ends up being another Czarnian. And not just any Czarnian, but his 4th grade teacher. She is the last surviving member of his species besides himself. This job is deeply ironic since Lobo himself is responsible for the extinction of his entire species. He created a bioweapon and annihilated the Czarnians purely because he found them annoying. His client ends up serving as the perfect foil to Lobo's unhinged personality, and as a Czarnian, her calm, pacifist demeanor, it contrasts hilariously with Lobo's violent tendencies. Despite his lack of morals, Lobo always remains obsessively committed to fulfilling his contracts. Spoiler alert, if you don't want the ending of this comic spoiled for any reason, skip to the time stamp I will put on screen. Otherwise, dig it. One prisoner alive, rescued, and delivered as promised. What happened to her legs? You know these old coots, always forgetting things. Well, no praise for a job well done? Like, she's alive, if not exactly kicking. All right. You did a good job. I'll take her into custody now. Thanks, thought you'd never say it. Class dismissed, teach. Crack. Once his Czarnian client is safely delivered, Lobo decides to kill her anyways, just because he can't stand the idea of anyone else from his species surviving. Lobo's disdain for anyone else sharing his existence as a Czarnian wins out, and he murders her, wiping out the last remaining member of his race. What this series does is introduce and define Lobo. You learn the basics. Lobo is a Czarnian, a race of nearly immortal, peaceful beings, though Lobo is unlike any of his kind. Born with a violent, sadistic streak, he's a complete anomaly. Someone who epitomizes anarchy, rejecting any idea of social norms or rules. As a teenager, he killed every other Czarnian in a fit of simple boredom, leaving himself the sole survivor of his species. He's a bounty hunter who traverses the galaxy on a damn space motorcycle, taking on jobs for money, regardless how gruesome or morally questionable. He has questionable ethics, which are central to the story, and they highlight the absurdity of heroism in a world dominated by violence and greed, which is what makes him a great and interesting supporting character in Supergirl, and hopefully someone you'll see conflicting with Superman at some point in the future. But at the end of the day, he does have a code, a simple code. No contract, no kill, and he always fulfills his contracts no matter the cost. Let's move on to the second series I consider essential reading, the 1992 4-issue series, Lobo's Back. I'm sure if you're a Lobo reader and fan, you saw this one coming. This time, though, he's ditched the bike and actually driving a space Corvette. Also cool as hell. Oh, and don't forget the gorilla in the passenger seat and his posse of killer penguins. No dolphins this time. The story begins right off the bat with a surprising twist. Lobo is killed in a crazy shootout. The main man, the assassin of royalty, the Czarnian who killed his entire species, the one with extreme healing, is killed. Welcome to the afterlife. The red zone is for loading and unloading only. Do not loiter in the red zone. Repentant sinners, join line X. Please have your penance clearance papers ready. Nobody wastes the main man and lives to brag about it. Especially not some geek like Lou. One side, you fee-butt lamos. I gotta see a man about a grievous error. Sir, disturbance on the evaluation line. Yes, I know. I wish I could say I wasn't expecting, but I saw the fight. Intercept him and bring him straight up. Mavis, get me the H place, would you? Lobo. Heck, as if I don't have enough trouble. The demon Etrigan's on the line, sir. Etrigan, you old son of a gun, how's your dad? Don't give me that crap. The reason for your call, I know. You wish to dispose of one dead Lobo. Mr. Lobo, would you accompany us, please? Out of the way, jerk-offs. I got me one bitch of a complaint to make. You deaf? Move it or lose it. Threats don't cut it here, Lobo. You can't kill those who are already dead. Is that a fact now? Seem to have a slight problem here. Your file clearly indicates an extremely lengthy term in the blackest pits of hell. But I'm afraid they don't want you. In fact, they flatly refuse to take your custody. Reputation precedes me, huh? So send me back to Dooley 7. I got unfinished business. I'm afraid reincarnation is completely out of the question. After the flood, management did promise no further blights. Yo, pencil neck. In case you ain't noticed, I wasn't asking, I was telling. Your fate has already been decided. Aha, here's your spirit guide now. Never figured I'd wind up in heaven. Badass dude like me. It happens sometimes. The infinite mercy clause is only used in extreme cases. This way, mind the cute little critters now. Real cute. Sheesh. Sickeningly sweet. Here we are, and may I be the first to welcome you to your new home. Fetal's giz on toast. What kind of maniac celestial crap have I stumbled into here? Well, that didn't take long. Maybe I was wrong about him. Remember when Attila the Hun said he'd repented, sir, and we let him in for a trial period? This is worse. Much worse. This page is so cool. I knew you would be a problem, but not in my wildest dreams. Angels, half the heavenly host, slam dancing, fighting, like common mortals. I'm surprised you didn't sell them drugs first. So easily fixed, man. Send me back. I told you that is entirely out of the question. Then quit beefing, man. You're making your own hassle. Oh, am I? Well, we'll just see about that. Looks like you got me anyways, big ears. The decision to take you is not up to me, but now you must suffer, as soon you will see. And this is your far-famed hell, huh? Gotta say, I've seen shabbier. I'm taking an early lunch, Mavis. If my wife calls, tell her, not so fast, you traitorous dog. There are words that must be said. Like, when are you taking Lobo back? Or do we move in here instead? Enjoying yourself? But the H place isn't there to be enjoyed. You're supposed to suffer. You can't say you're having a good time. It's against the rules. Maybe I can make a suggestion. So, Lobo's sent to the afterlife, and unsurprisingly, he causes havoc there too. He turns heaven into anarchy and even enjoys hell. He's so bad, the other people in hell are trying to move into heaven to get away from him. Both heaven and hell want nothing to do with him because of the destructive personality and penchant for violence. The bureaucrats in the afterlife finally agree and decide to grant him his reincarnation. But Lobo never specified how, so they allow him to return to the mortal realm of the living, but he finds himself in different forms and even in different times, not in his original body or original time period. Lobo's soul is repeatedly sent back to the living world in increasingly bizarre and messed up forms. For example, the first time, he gets literally birthed as a full-grown woman, winding up in England in 1940. He gets blown up by a tank shell and ends up right back in the afterlife. They reincarnate him again, but this time he comes back as a squirrel, gets killed instantly. He winds right back in the afterlife. This time, they're expecting him, and somehow they've managed to gather an entire arsenal in preparation for him. There is a full-on war in heaven. He's ripping people apart, blowing people to smithereens. They even bring out their strongest soldiers, looking like they're about to take on a crusade, and he still pierces through them with ease. They have to bring out the damn gods on Lobo. You're seeing Egyptian gods, Roman and Greek gods, and is that fucking Buddha in the corner? And yeah, literal gods do not fare so well up against Lobo either. Finally, after causing absolute chaos in the afterlife, dealing with a series of ridiculous reincarnations and fighting the literal army of the afterlife, he is sent back to his original body and his original timeline. In fact, literally his sliced in half body. He wakes up and kills the man who killed him, again showing how Lobo is bound to his code no matter what. He promised to kill Lou to fulfill his contract and did so. True to his form, Lobo confronted the powers that be in heaven and hell and rejected their authority. He essentially bullied and forced the cosmic bureaucracy to give up on trying to, quote unquote, handle him. So, in the end, both heaven and hell decide that the universe is better off with Lobo alive and back to bounty hunting rather than dealing with him in the afterlife. So they send him back to the mortal plane in his original classic Czarnian form, reinstating him as the indestructible, chaotic force of nature we know him as. The very last page of the comic is crucial. The last page is a memo from the afterlife directed to all level 1 gods, goddesses, devils, and even death itself, saying, under no conditions is the individual known as Lobo to be collected. His file has been categorized as untouchable, pursuant to clause 27C, blah, blah, blah. I love this piece of lore. It's such a fun, cool, almost breaking the fourth wall way by the writers to explain lore-wise why Lobo is seemingly immortal, why he has such an extreme healing factor beyond what any normal Czarnian ever had. The point is that heaven and hell reject him so much that they've made it so he physically can't die and be collected. They will intervene and prevent his death to avoid having to deal with him in heaven or hell. And this explains why Lobo's regenerative healing ability is so vastly superior to other Czarnians. I've read other comics where he can regenerate from a single drop of blood, making him effectively impossible to kill permanently, only slow him down. He also has super strength that rivals that of Superman and Wonder Woman. So alongside immortality, he's also pretty much indestructible. And I say pretty much or nearly or seemingly immortal and indestructible because I don't want to speak in absolutes. I don't want to speak as a non-expert, as I don't know for sure. I don't want to say anything without doubt and talk like it's objective. I consider myself somewhat of an expert when it comes to, Superman, Batman, Hulk, Spider-Man, Silver Surfer. I am not an expert when it comes to Lobo whatsoever. I can only go off the extent to which I've read the Lobo comics. So, why is Lobo so iconic within the DC comic universe? What are the essential core traits to not only understand Lobo, but require to also adapt him on screen? First and foremost, and the most obvious, is the ultra violence. Lobo thrives on violence and destruction. He uses oversized weapons, he loves to brawl, and whenever he fights, he leaves massive collateral damage. Just look at the comic pages we just read. Ripping limbs and heads off, guts spilling out, blood spraying everywhere. If Lobo ever gets a standalone movie and it is not gory and bloody and it isn't rated R, you've automatically got it wrong and done Lobo a disservice. Just flat out. That is what people want to witness. Unlike traditional heroes, Lobo does not have a moral compass. He revels in chaos and violence. He is meant to be the entertaining foil to DC's morally upright characters. You cannot compromise that on that, in my opinion. Now, James Gunn has said each and every project will have its own identity and its own style, and that includes ratings. Some movies will get a PG-13 rating. Some movies will get an R rating. Sorry, children, hopefully your parents are cool. Critical to Lobo is his dark humor as well. His sense of humor is irreverent and crude. He's brutal and funny. His interactions with other people is almost always a blend of brutality and quippy remarks. And as we've pointed out multiple times in this video, Lobo possesses a strict code of honor. He might not have any qualms about killing or breaking the law, but he is fiercely loyal to his word. Once he takes a job, he will see it through no matter what. That has to be made evident in his personality. It'll also be interesting how he interacts with Supergirl depending on the script, because Lobo is primarily a loner, preferring his own company, really. Sure, he has moments of hidden softness, but you really only ever see this for his pet space dolphins or the small creatures you see in some issues. I also think people love the satirical nature to Lobo. That's one of the most iconic aspects to the comics in the 90s that set him apart, because he was created in the first place to be a parody of the grim anti-heroes of the 90s. The whole point of Lobo is that he satirically makes fun of characters like Wolverine and the Punisher during the 90s, who were known for their brooding personalities and violent methods. And they just turned the knobs to 11 and made him overly absurd. And as a result, he became an iconic fan favorite for that. Related to that is the tone. His tone is equally essential. You need violence and crudeness and well-written comic relief. I stress well-written. Not cringy, poorly written punchlines, jokes you see coming from a mile away, lines that just fall flat and destroy certain moments. That's always a difficult thing to get right, and embracing dark humor while avoiding excessive self-seriousness, finding that balance. Hopefully whoever writes knows that, and hopefully James Gunn also knows that. But then again, that's your job, and that's what you make money doing, so you better get it correct, because what good is your salary then? The visual aesthetics, as a heavy metal biker in space, must remain intact. Literally, that sentence. Heavy metal biker in space. His look is insanely recognizable. Even if you've not read Lobo, you know who Lobo is by looking at him. His wardrobe and his space bike, just as much as his chalk white skin, his red eyes, and his crazy hair. And with those aesthetics, his world and his universe he inhabits should also feel colorful but gritty and clearly otherworldly. I think that will also be deemed difficult bringing him to Earth when he fits more in across the galaxy. He's a cosmic outsider. He operates on the fringes of the DC universe, dealing with intergalactic threats, bizarre alien races, cosmic factions. So if we don't see him, if we don't see much of him in Earth-based projects, I think that is actually for the best. If we see him less, or we take a break from him after his appearance, short or long, in Supergirl, because his adventures are often self-contained. And if that means waiting months or years for his own solo project to be greenlit, I believe that's ultimately the better choice than trying to squeeze him into something on Earth or even our solar system in general. We have an entire galaxy to explore. Please. That is the same thing people complain about with Star Wars. You have an entire galaxy and vast time periods to explore. Can we let go of the Skywalker saga and escape these 3 planets that we get stuck on? Overall, and in conclusion, people might call Jason Momoa in effortless fan casting. I've seen that said a lot, quite a bit, on the cesspool that is X/Twitter, so take that with a grain of salt. But to me, Jason Momoa, he should have never been Aquaman, in my opinion. He does have the charisma and the physicality to be a great choice for Lobo. I don't think Lobo's success hinges so much on the actor portraying him in the adaptation as much as it hinges on the script and story themselves staying true to the blend of humor chaos and satire that was perfectly captured in the comics that made him iconic in the first place. That will be the real test of DC Studios when that time comes. And that is where I'm going to end the discussion today. If you enjoyed the video, hitting that like button to let me know is very much appreciated, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already to stay in the loop here in this community. Don't forget to keep the conversation going down in the comments below. Having said that, and with that said, so long, farewell, until next time, stay you, have a good one.